church. I was appointed there in 2019, and that's when I sort of know the story best. And then in 2020, I was appointed to not only there, but here as well at Greene Memorial. So at that point in the middle of the pandemic, I began leading worship, and I often was in the building by myself. And it became apparent as I stood in the building that the building was a bigger burden. There were just needs. And like I distinctly remember standing and leading worship and watching like water drip in from a recent rain from the ceiling in the sanctuary. And we became apparent as we gathered back for worship together back in 2021 that the building was more of a burden than an asset. It was our master, not our servant. And we began asking like lots of questions of like what that means. And they began to be really proactive in prayer and proactive in thinking and reflection. We asked a lot of questions. We talked to a lot of different people. And we just reached out to various different partners about how could we keep this building to be used for mission and ministry, but in a different way. And we came to a partnership with Restoration Housing, a local nonprofit that does historic preservation to create affordable housing. And so they bought the building from us. And I said, well, what if this congregation, Trinity, that had been formed by being a Sunday school class that outgrew the saloon down by the railroad tracks in the late 1890s, what if we returned back to each other? And what if we merged? And so by unanimous vote, at both locations, they agreed to merge with each other, and we've been worshiping together since December 2023.
I believe it's a great legacy for the church, a 130-year-old church, to be repositioned, renovated into a new mission for serving the retired senior community.
Like they were a church community where love was in the fabric of what they were doing. Love was built into who they are. It was in their DNA. And so we literally went over one Friday night and we walked through and people got to see it sort of set up for the first time, right? There's this sort of prophetic imagination that says, hey, what was my church office and what was where you met for Bible study and where we had after school programs and all these things that existed at church, the church nursery where my kid played, that's gonna be somebody's residence. And they kept the transoms and they kept some of these really cool historical parts of it, but it's reimagination, right? It's a real example of how God does new life. And so to be able to see it in process and sort of actually go from like, okay, we said that this is going to be an apartment where my church office is and where you had Bible study, but no, really, here it is, was just so cool. And then just to be able to, we wrote scripture and we wrote prayers, and children took Sharpies and wrote hearts all over the walls. So there's like literally little children scribbled hearts in almost every apartment. There's love built in. And we think that that's such a cool value of living out our mission, right? That we are able to create safe places of deep dignity for people who are in need to live well, and that we can tell them we did it with love built into the walls.